We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept.
Welcome back to the HVAC Accelerated Success Program. My name is Ben Middleton, and I'm the National Sales Training Manager for both the Goodman and Amana brands. How do you go somewhere no one has ever gone before? NASA scientists had to answer this same question. They had to engage in what-if style thinking, long before they successfully put a man on the moon. This is similar to what happens in a business. NASA knew many of the obstacles in advance, but had to account for numerous unknown variables. This week, we will explore the known and suspected obstacles facing each company that keeps them from reaching their end goal. What if thinking are you engaging in as a business owner?
Net profit per man hour or any of those?
Probably not.
Okay.
Those are the ones we're working on.
With Ruth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. How about gross revenue per lead? Is that one you track?
Per lead, no.
Okay. All right. And then, do you offer financing currently?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And how many different lenders do you work with?
Right now, we're just working with one. We had a couple, but
Okay.
yeah, we're just working with one now.
All right. And do you have a call conversion strategy in place?
I mean, like with our dispatcher to.
Yeah. So. No, so when do you have a strategy to incentivize service technicians? Do you sell with comfort advisors or selling techs?
Selling techs, yeah.
Okay, selling techs. So there's not going to be a call conversion strategy because they're going to actually do the sale.
Right.
Instead of flipping the lead over to
okay.
So,
Gotcha.
okay. All right. And then what percentage of your installations do you think you finance right now?
Probably about 20%.
Clay, you answer this one. Key terms in Google established?
Yes, without a doubt.
Jennifer's listening, so you better answer this.
I'm interested on the question about financing. How much of the financing do you do through Payzaware?
We don't do any. We're using Ally.
Okay,
right now.
got it. So
Yeah.
you're totally separate. Your financing is not within the Payzaware app.
Correct. Yeah.
Good to know.
Interesting. Okay. And do you? So we talked a little bit about KPIs on service and maintenance. You do track your closing percentage. What on a service call to track it as a sales lead? Do you use what do you use? Do you use the age of the existing equipment to determine whether or not it's a sales opportunity, or do you just
Or the repair amount.
okay?
You know,
Okay.
if it's a big repair.
That's another good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then, do you track and post for your service techs what their closing percentages are? Do you let the other ones know what they're looking
No.
like? Okay.
That's one thing we did go over with Ruth also
Yeah.
initially. That's what she's
Like a
working on.
scoreboard.
Yep.
Yeah.
She wants to post that. And
Scoreboards are important.
They are, yeah.
So you might not think so, but if you start tracking closing percentage. I ran into a guy that was talking to me about revenue per lead was his new KPI.
Yep.
Because he just wanted to assign a dollar value.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if you're closing at 50% or at 40 or at 30. How much money am I making?
Right.
And so I'm going to do a deep dive into that one, but you probably won't get that with this one yet because it's kind of a different approach. So okay, and then now we're going to get into a little bit about. This is what they would call your level 4, layer 4, layer 5 questions. Okay, so the question is, do you have a branding strategy? But what I think that there's a better way to put that. Like, for example, if you were a car dealership, okay, how would you define Picture Rock? Would you be a Lexus dealer, a Mercedes dealer, a Chevy? Kia or a Hyundai. So how would you position your Porsche?
Maserati.
That's okay.
Bugatti.
No, whatever it is, it is. So I watched some training about this, and Mike Robinson did a really good job of that. And part of when you figure out your pricing strategy, like how much gross margin or how much EBITDA that you want to make, profitability obviously is going to drive up. The more profit that you want, it's going to drive up your sell price of your systems and even your service, right? So to be that A-level service provider, like if you want to be a Lexus dealer or a Mercedes dealer, then you're going to charge Lexus and Mercedes prices, right? But the customer experience and the expectation has to match the service.
Right.
So, and that's why you have companies out there that operate at 55% gross margin, right? And they price off of gross margin and not net profit per man hour, because they make really, really high gross margin, high average tickets, very profitable companies, but their service levels are extreme, and in order for them to command the confidence in their pricing amongst their people, their employees, that's a critical thing too. It's like, people have to feel like if we're charging $25,000 for this system, then we better be providing A-level work, A-level customer service experience, any issues at all, a list of guarantees. So, so I felt like it was necessary to explain that question. But so and everybody's reaction is, right away, we're a Mercedes, right? Or we're a Lexus. That's the first thing that they say, because that's who they want to be. But
Right.
Are you converting over 80% of inbound calls?
Oh.
This is the wrong time of year to ask that.
Yeah.
You're like 99% right now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Ask us that in the fall.
Yeah. On average, would you say you're converting?
I think we are, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really good, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. And do you have an employee recruiting strategy?
No.
People are not even willing to work.
Sometimes me.
Yeah.
We've actually I've actually partnered up with Pima College, and it's hard to get guys out of there, but basically now his company name is at the college on a TV that runs, so these guys know that when they get done, this is one of the companies that can take you. And we're also looking at, with the college, kind of a payback program.
That's a great idea.
So
that's something that we'll probably get into. Are you busy during the slow times of the year?
We're steady. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good.
So 90% or more of your installs are completed in one day?
Yes.
That's good. This one asks about closing percentage again. Closing percentage over 70%.
For
They're blending. I'm assuming what this means is they're blending. If you're 50% on marketed leads is a really high closing percentage, and so what I think they're saying is you're blended here. So on a turnover, you can run 70%. So on your selling tech leads,
right.
traditionally closing percentages are higher than they are if you're just running an estimate, right?
Yeah.
So this is saying, are you closing at 70% on your tech leads? I'm assuming that's what this means.
Yeah.
That's a really high percentage.
Yeah, that is. I don't think we're doing 70%.
Yeah, that means you're selling systems on, so one KPI is systems that are 15 years or older. Maybe in the desert that number is probably lower, maybe it's 12 or 13 years.
Right.
So sending a service technician on a call to a house that has a system that's 13 years old or older, that should be considered a replacement opportunity.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and then do you know your customer?
Lately we
I mean,
haven't.
I was gonna say your target market, is that?
Yeah, this is under efficiency. So I guess what this is saying is that when someone calls you and you pull them up, if you're dispatching from Payzer, right? You have probably I'm assuming you have CRM capability within Payzerware, right? So you know, oh hi Mrs. Jones, nice to hear from you, that kind of thing. So are all your service customers in your database? Do you have them all entered in there?
They're not all in there, but they're,
I thought they were.
well, I mean, as they come in, they are. But
Okay, so as you
Yeah.
sign one up, you're entering
Yes,
them.
yes.
Okay.
But old ones, you're going back.
Right.
Okay.
Because we've only had the Payzerware for about a year and a half.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know the answer to this one is IAQ 10% of your total revenue. It can't be if it's 10%, right?
So I'm way behind. I need to catch up on everything, but we did raise our rates, our service rates. I think from the first meeting.
Okay.
Other than that, I don't have any information. I need to go back and watch all the recorded videos and catch up with you.
So tell me a little bit about Tanner, since it's the first time we've met.
I've been Florida native my whole life, 34 years old, went to Florida State, dual majors in business and entrepreneurship. And my dad started the company when he was 23, 1973, 48 years ago. Now we have 3 locations in Newport Richey, which is north of Tampa, Brandon, and Orlando. We do a good amount of new construction, a lot of residential new construction. We also do a good amount of service too. We actually started the HVAC side up about 9 or 10 years ago as a kind of an add-on. And same thing with commercial, especially when we had the big downturn or whatever. We were very one site minded and residential new construction plumbing. So we really try to diversify. Now we have about 220 or 230 employees. And we're growing. This year's been a little bit off, I would say, just because of the supply chain issues. And but our service has grown about 20, I think it was like 21% last I looked.
Wow.
So not
That's
too bad.
good. That is good. With all that being said, describe for me your current strategy on replacement jobs. How do you guys do what you do in that area?
For replacement, you mean just so obviously
Just
we go
existing customer calls in, says, I need an air conditioner because my air conditioner quit.
So we'd send out a comfort advisor. They go out and we use Service Titan. So they go through, they have like a new install checklist. They take pictures of stuff, measure everything, look at the duct work. Then they would sit down with the customer, give them typically 3 options, including indoor air quality with finance. And then that, if that's sold, we'd have an install team go out there. The install team would do the job. They have their own checklist that they have to complete. Once they leave, we have a quality control manager that would go out there, double check the job, make sure everything's 100% for inspection, call inspection in, then obviously collect money in between there, but then we would be complete with the job. But then we get them on like our maintenance program for that year so we could retain that customer.
Excellent. Excellent. That's very similar to what we did in our business. When you, if you look at your average sale right now for the jobs that your guys are selling right now, what does that look like? Do you have a feel for that?
Yeah, so I would say the average is probably under 8, probably 7. I think last I looked was like 7,700. So it's definitely a little bit on the low side. Not a good excuse, but a lot of people sell stuff down here for almost nothing. We try not to bid, not to put ourselves in that same realm with them.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, but there are a lot of people that all they do is look at the bottom dollars in some of the areas that we're in.
Oh yeah, no, that's true of every city and every state and every country. As I was mentioned, I was just working with a guy up in Canada, and he was saying the same thing. He says, "Oh, we got 30, 40 guys right here that knock the bottom out of the price all the time." I said, "I know. I know exactly what you're saying." I used to say, "How in the world did they give that price for this job? I can't even buy the equipment for that."
Yeah, we literally have those same things.
I know.
So it's like over there, it's like $300 over the equipment, and we like to think we're getting good pricing. So I know, maybe they're getting the same price of us or whatever, but they go out for $300 as a one-man shop, and they think that they're making $300 for the day, so they install it. All right. So like we talked about, we're working on our HVAC install pricing, and we had that talk, and you know, like before we were basing everything off kind of percentages. That's how I've known to do it my whole life, but really eye-opening what we talked about, and we're going through adjusting all of our prices to that way, the correct way how to do it.
Yeah. And that really is, you know, it gets very eye-opening when you start doing it that way versus percentages, as some of you actually found out already. Cool.
Well, we
Janae,
have to
sorry.
look at a couple of them. They're actually pretty close though too, which is kind of, you know, crazy. But you know, as stuff is like more material versus less, you know, that's where you kind of really like we see the differences.
Testimonial from an Amana dealer that we work with out west. Guy's named Mike Page. Here's what he said. My dad started as a one truck operation in 1986. We don't need to go through all that. Let's look at the yellow part. In 2016, our average replacement sale was $6,500. Today, our average is $16,911 and rising. That's $10,411. How'd he do it? Well, he applied what we teach him in his business, and his business has gone from being okay to being, oh my God, how do I hire more people? I'm selling jobs left and right, and they're just awesome jobs that include a lot of IAQ products, some duct modifications to make the system actually work properly, because that's usually where the problems are, is we have undersized returns, we have undersized supplies.
Especially with the higher SEER stuff. Yeah, we see a lot of that.
Especially for the higher SEER stuff. All right, so this is a methodology that takes you from, you know, being a box swapping add-on replacement type company and not really solving the problems that customers have, to a company that actually knows what's going on with the system as it relates to airflow, and you're able to resolve it. I was also blessed with the opportunity to serve on the ACCA national board. So I actually represented Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, and Alabama for ACCA on the national board. And one of the things one of the committees I was on was the education committee. And we were very focused on what do we need to do to help contractors across the country with, you know, just doing a better job of making sure we get the right people in the industry. And it's an ongoing process. I mean, I know it's the hardest thing in this industry. It still is, always has been. It's just hard to find and keep good people.
It's it's extremely difficult now. Like, it's just, people are throwing really crazy numbers, and for us to get somebody experienced in here, it's almost impossible. So we've been kind of putting an initiative where we're just going to train a bunch of people. Well, and it's kind of, those people are going to be better anyways in the long run.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You think about those pictures I showed a little while ago, those really crappy duct systems. That's done by your competition.
Yeah.
Right. And if you hire your competitor's best guy, guess what you're going to get?
Mm-hmm.
You're hiring that job with it. Right. It's like, that's not really what we want to do. So part of building for the future would be creating a training plan, basically, that says, here's how we're going to do what we're going to do. So, I mean, can you imagine, for instance, Chick-fil-A just saying, yeah, we need somebody to get back here and fry some chicken.
Yeah.
And so they put an ad in the paper and they say, we're looking for a chicken fryer. The guy shows up at the door at Chick-fil-A and he says, man, I've been frying chicken for 30 years. The guy says, all right, you're hired. Right. So he shows up on his first day of work. He's got on his KFC uniform. Do you think he knows how to do Chick-fil-A chicken? What does your onboarding process look like? Let's talk about a service tech. I mean, what's day one at RJK look like?
Yeah, this is kind of where we fail, in my opinion. So we'll bring them in. We'll do training on our software. Then we're part of EGIA, so we do the EGIA kind of training. And then they go. So this would be like an experienced person. They would go with like one of our lead guys for 2 weeks. Then we kind of throw, and then after the 2 weeks, they have a day back in the office where we kind of go back over everything and then put them out in the truck. But it's just not as structured. I'm the kind of structured guy. It's not like kind of as structured as I would like it. There's not like we know what the plan is. There's not like a set written down plan. That's kind of something I'm working on now, is getting standard operating procedures just for everybody.
Good.
But I'm just not, super happy with that end of it. And then as well as like our apprentices, I'm really not really happy with that program that we have. We just kind of send him with the guy, and then we'll ask the guy how he's doing every so often, and kind of,
Yeah, he shows up.
yeah, he shows up. There's no like those set like benchmarks. You need to learn this by then, or there's no like internal training as much as there should be. Hey, maybe once a week or something like that, come in, or once every month come in and have a day with them and with all the apprentices. Is kind of like my plan, but we don't have that in place right now, and I think that's one of our downfalls.
Have you hooked up with Ruth King yet?
Yes.
Okay. Have you told her what you just told me about a standard operating procedure?
No.
Okay. She actually has stuff already built.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You need to get with her and you need to say, David Holt told me you got some standard operating procedures for this kind of business. I need to hear more.
What's the magic wand say? Got a genie in a bottle.
Probably would go back and not spend $40,000 just a couple months ago before I got into this program. So I would say maybe a month ago is when they released my new website. So the website's been completely redesigned. It's real fast. It's I think I like the way it looks. It's on brand. So honestly, I don't 100% know what I would do with my website as far as that goes. I don't know just yet where my rankings are regarding SEO stand, because we just kind of started with it. As far as pay per lead on the digital side, I've invested over about $40,000 this year in Facebook, and I've done probably over 100 in the last 12 months on Facebook with diminishing returns. So I decided to cancel doing that. Gosh, what would the magic wand be? To go back and get the money back from all the mistakes I've learned over the years.
Amen to that.
I would say that
From an SEO standpoint, what are you guys doing? What was your plan? Did you go to bat and say, I want to be found for these 20 services, these 15 products, in these X amount of cities or towns? Are your goals right now, and what's included in your agreement?
obviously rebuilding the website. I had built the website myself on WordPress, and it was okay, but it was really slow. So rebuilding the website was important.
And what kind of terms are you locked into?
A year, or I have to a year at like $3,500 a month, or I have to pay them what is it, about 15 grand for the website, which that's reasonable, you know.
What was the $40,000 for? Is that just projected?
That's about the 3,500 a month over the next year.
Gotcha,
So
gotcha.
I think I might be like, I might be a little bit longer in than that. It's hard to remember. I didn't really have tons of expectations from it. I just wanted a new website, and one of the things that they also do is they write monthly emails for me. I found it hard to create content. I did it for a while, but I just was kind of bored eventually with writing it. I ran out of stuff to say about HVAC. I like that they write emails to my existing clients once a month. They're really well written. There's a lot of good information in there. There's a good offer in there. But yeah, they did a website. They're doing some SEO, email marketing. I think they're starting to do remarketing for me. I'm not 100% sure because I know that they had to do the website. And then, yeah, that's it. That's all we're really doing. So they said that they're doing some NAP cleanup, which is what that name, address, and that stuff online. Link building. I mean, I've spent the last 9 years hundreds of thousands of dollars on internet marketing. So with mixed results, it always seems to track to the weather. When we've got plenty of leads this year when the when it's warm. And I don't know. I haven't really had tons of a lead problem. I'd have to say that I've had more of a people problem. So this is one of the first year I haven't really been focusing on leads as much as I have been with keeping my current people happy and finding new people.
And in terms of maintenance agreements today, what's your total number of maintenance agreements?
1,100.
Okay. And we don't need to get into a lot of the pricing, but I know you've got a 1-visit program and you got a 2-visit program. And I think that's a good strategy. It really is a good idea to have it so that you can fit the needs of that customer. Do you currently have a defined training budget for your company?
No, my training budget is whatever I feel the guys need. I don't really maximize it or have a number.
So you don't really have a plan. It's just as needed. You just you invest the money that you need to invest to get the guys where they need to be.
I did one-on-ones with each person in the company. I still have a few left for office staff, but as part of the end of the one-on-one is all the training that I see that they'll need within the next 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So now what I'm doing is sourcing where I get it from and putting it on a calendar. So that's where I'm at right now. And then that'll determine how much it costs.
Okay. So in terms of a training plan, then your training plan is an annual assessment of where that team member is at the current state, and then what's the delta, where do you want them to be and where are they, and then fill that gap with some training that's available.
Prioritizing it. Yeah.
So okay. So it's kind of an ad hoc training plan then is what I'll just call it. So it's based on the team member, right? So it's based on the employee's current situation and what you perceive as the need for improvement, in essence.
Right. I have 3 brand new guys, and they're going to be going through almost exactly the same training just because they're new. But the guys that have been with me for years, I basically put them to another level, and I look at them as doing the NCI classes, like the more advanced stuff.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
So an interesting concept, and it sounds like you're not at this point yet, although you may have it in your head. This might be something you might want to put on paper. An interesting concept that I found works really well for my business when I was running my dad's heating and air business was coming up with a training plan by role, not by person, but by role.
Right.
So if I got a maintenance person, right, I know these are the things a maintenance person needs to know. So here's the right tools they need to have to be a good maintenance person. Here's the right skills they need to have using those tools to get them to where they're producing the right result at a maintenance level. Different set of tools, different set of skills for a troubleshooting tech, right? A repair type tech, different set of tools, different set of skills for a CSR, for instance, different set of skills and tools for a comfort advisor, right? So what we did in our business is we focused on just taking the personalities out of it and said, all right, given that, what does our maintenance tech, an entry-level maintenance tech, what does that look like? If we were to hold up a magic wand and we could just go, here's a maintenance tech from Holt Service Company, what would they look like? What would they sound like? What would they be able to do? And then how do we, as a company, ensure that we empower and equip them with the tools and training they need to be successful in that role? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
As the owner and manager of this thing, I mean, that's your responsibility ultimately, because you can't delegate that kind of stuff because it's your vision for what you want your company to produce that has to be realized, right? So anyway, it's an important part of what we try to do anyway, and helping people get to the next level is help them with some of those plans. So that'll be something that we can work on as we go over the future of this program with you.
Personally, I've been through your performance-based selling class 7 years ago or so.
And then you quit selling, I heard. So I must have talked you out of being in sales. That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, I would like to quit doing everything. I'm the owner, right? I just want to get up, look at the bank and financials and go do my thing. But I'm not there yet. So do the performance-based selling with you. I've sent a couple of texts to Combustion Analysis up in Cleveland. I've done some air balancing class. One tech went up there for that. I think that's all, but none of the technicians who are with me today have been through those classes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
and then
All right.
whenever they come back, I read the whole book and everything and look at it as well. So I didn't hear it from the horse's mouth, but been in HVAC for 20 years. So usually it just fills in the blanks for me. Well, if we look at the time of the year, as far as seasons go, we're stepping right into our shoulder season for heating tune-ups.
Yep.
And historically, we have done the worst all year at heating tune-ups, the lowest average ticket, lowest conversion. And so going through and doing a detailed inspection and having each guy know all of the parts that go into that inspection. Some of them are very simple, testing components inside the system. Some are more detailed, like filling out a cool max or heat max report. So some of those guys know it like the back of their hand, and their training plan, which I have here, is IAQ based and NCI airflow and duct design based, and some NATE certifications. And then other guys, I'm trying to find like local classes where they could actually get hands-on equipment, but I'm having a heck of a time finding that. All of the distributors have canceled all of the classes because of COVID. All of the local trade schools, none of them do night classes right now. And so the training that I'm going to have is for the new guys is in our training lab that we're building. That's 2,500 square feet. So it's going to be pretty sweet. Honestly, I don't know who we're going to get to do that very basic hands-on training. I don't know.
Okay.
So that's kind of where we're at.
Okay. Very good. So we, as you know, we're more the advanced guys. So we're more like your, your college educated kind of people at the,
right.
As far as the technical guys are concerned. So we're not doing the elementary and high school level stuff. Maybe junior, senior high school level, but yeah, it's pretty interesting. And actually, since you last had people come to any classes, we've actually created kind of a baby step one whole curriculum that we can do online, believe it or not, that actually gets you to especially your entry level guys, gets them to understand the importance of measuring static pressure. And then we got a way to monetize that. So not just the testing, it's hard to charge somebody for taking their blood pressure, right? I mean, it's part of the office visit, right? Out of those 1,100 maintenance agreement customers right now, if we could identify 110 jobs in the next season that you could do when you need to do them, because it's not urgent, it's something that could be scheduled, and it was a $4,000 to $5,000 easy add-on, and then we prioritize that $4,000 to $5,000 add-on by looking at the age of the equipment too. Because if I'm your comfort advisor, I want to get in there where I got an old piece of equipment and they need an air upgrade, and I combine the two, and I get my average sale up. Well, guys that were averaging around 6,500 are now averaging about 17,000.
Yeah, that's pretty serious. We never even sell $17,000 jobs in our company. Right
we can fix that for you.
And
it's not you selling them; it will be your customers buying them.
Yeah, right.
There's a big difference, right? Like right now, what do you do with the heat max and the cool max reports? Sit them in a drawer?
Yeah, right. What do we do?
Money, right?
Confuse the hell out of customers.
Yeah, that doesn't make any money.
We do new construction, renovation, service maintenance in both plumbing and HVAC, and we do commercial and residential as well.
And I'm Steve Druck, and I'm the service manager at Bruins, and I look after all the repair work, so on plumbing and HVAC. And I've been with the company for 18 years, I think.
Okay, very good. Appreciate that. So one of the things we're going to do today is go through a little program called Grow Profitably with Air Upgrades. This is a program that's been put together by National Comfort Institute. we've been doing this work in the industry that we'll be talking about today. We've been doing this and teaching this stuff actually since the 1990s. So it's not something new to us, but it may be new to you. So what I'm going to do is dive into this program. We want you to understand a little bit more about what we do and how we do it, so you can decide if this is right for you at Bruins. Here's some questions that I'm going to answer for you today. Why in the world do I need profitable growth? What is an air upgrade? It's one of the components of the title for this workshop is air upgrades. What is that? We're going to talk about that. Why are they important to your business? How can a 5-minute, less than 5 minutes actually, but we'll give it 5 minutes, a 5-minute test generate leads for a new product that you can offer? How do air upgrades improve business? And how do I add this service to my company? So let's just dive into that real quick. So here's a question. Why in the world does a company need profitable growth? Well, I got 5 great answers to that question. Number one is you got more demanding customers than ever before. If you think about it, you've got customers that have more access to information via the internet. You have customers now that are sheltering in place more than ever before through this pandemic that we've been experiencing as a world. You have multi-generational situations where the old folks have moved in with the young folks and they're having kids. So we got 2 and 3 and 4 generational type families in homes. So there's lots and lots and lots of different demands. Houses are being used differently than they were. The room that I'm sitting in right now was originally designed to be a bedroom for like a mother-in-law suite. Well, I co-opted and turned it into an office when it became clear that I was going to be spending more time working from home than I was working from an airplane, which is where I was prior to the pandemic. So we got lots of different demands. The houses are being used differently. We've got multiple generations. We've just got a lot of different demands, and throw the internet in on top of that. And your customers are actually maybe more educated about what we do in the trades than they were in the past, but in some ways maybe more confused than ever before as well, because there's so much information that's out there. Here's another one. Now, your what I'll call weather-driven sales curse is a little bit different than one where you have really hot summers. Like I'm in a part of the United States where it gets hot as rip during the summer. I mean, 80s would be considered cool for us. That's Fahrenheit. The 90s would be getting warm, but we see, the low 100s pretty regularly in my part of the southern U.S. I'm in Georgia. So we get high humidity and high heat. And our summers, we have a really peak demand. And in this chart, that's what you're seeing here. Then in the fall and in the spring, it kind of drops off like a lead balloon. And in the winter, we actually don't have huge peaks down here. Now, you guys have got a different peak for sure in your part of North America. Being that you're in Canada, you probably have a little bit more of a heating season than you do a cooling season. Is that true, Steve?
Yeah, we're probably just backwards from you guys.
Yep. Yeah. So if we just swapped summer and winter, we would probably be more in line with the way we're looking at. Well, the problem is this: we got that little red line right in the middle of that chart called overhead. Okay, that's the bills that have to be paid whether we're selling anything or not, right? The electricity, the rent on the building, whatever, all the different things that cost you money to operate the business, that those bills come in regardless of sales, right? So overhead is pretty much a constant throughout the year for most businesses. And unfortunately, in a lot of businesses, we're not saying this is true of you, but in our industry, a lot of businesses are completely driven by the weather. If the phone's not ringing because of extreme weather conditions, we just don't have a whole lot to do, right? Now, I know in your business, you've been around since 1965, you weathered an awful lot of years since then. My grandfather started a business here in Georgia back in 1956, so I'm fully aware of the ups and downs associated with weather-driven business. The sad part is a good number of contractors in our industry do live off of weather-driven business exclusively. They don't really have a marketing plan. They don't have maintenance agreements that keep them busy during the quote unquote mild weather months, right?
I can run, like we have our commercial mechanical division. We have our service and maintenance division, which Steve runs. I have a retail store that is a separate department. I have our residential new construction and renovation plumbing department. Then we have our duct cleaning department, which is just one duct truck, but then we track our bear care sales and stuff separate, but so that's a department, but Steve runs all of that. And then we have our furnace replacements and aftermarket air conditioning department. And then we have our new construction HVAC department. But again, I separate them just kind of on the finance side, but it's really one department. We mix guys and the, you know, the manager and the supervisor, they run both. So.
Okay, cool. So how many people, how would you break down those numbers as far as percentages of people within those areas? So HVAC versus plumbing. Do you have cross training going on between HVAC and plumbing?
Only in the service side of things. So our, I would say just about all of our service technicians are actually journeyman plumber gas fitters. So in Alberta, as you probably know, we have a formal apprenticeship system. So they're protected trades, so you can't be working in the trade unless you're apprenticing or got your ticket. So yeah, in Alberta, when you go and get your plumbing ticket, it's a dual ticket. You get your gas ticket at the end of that. So pretty much all our service technicians are plumber gas fitters, but so they do plumbing and they also do the HVAC. So they work on the furnaces. Not all of them do both, but our goal is to try to cross train so that eventually all of our service technicians can do plumbing, furnaces and air conditioning. We have more that can do furnaces. Definitely the minority is the ones that can do air conditioning.
Okay, well, you kind of just touched on one of the things I need to ask on that. In the USA, we have the Clean Air Act, which requires technician certification before legally handling refrigerant. Is there something similar to that in Canada?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay, so you don't require like an EPA certification because that's on our side of the equation. That's a US thing. So in terms of certifications, you mentioned the plumber ticket. Basically, that's a certification process that is part of the way you guys do business in Canada. So what certifications, what tickets do you require people to have for employment?
Well, if we're training them, if they're hired as an apprentice, then you know, they can be new and then we're going to be indenturing them. But ultimately, you know, they're either going to be an apprentice being indentured or they're going to have a journey person ticket. And kind of the three trades that we have is plumber gas fitter, or you can go to what's called sheet metal, which is HVAC, and it's also gas fitter. And then the third one, we have a couple people here that have the refrigeration trade. So all three of those trades it's essentially a 4-year program. So it's a little different depending on the trade, but roughly speaking, it's 2 to 2.5 months of schooling per year, and then the rest is on the job training. So you have to have 1,500 hours per year plus successful school training in order to be accredited for that year of training.
Just wanted to jump in real quick with the team here and ask a question. So part of the Accelerate HVAC Success Program is an extreme makeover for your business. And we're talking right now about your marketing strategy. So if you had a magic wand and you could change anything about how your business is marketing today, and I'd love to hear from each of the people that you introduced, you know, what would it be that you would change, or what sort of differences, or how would you like to see your marketing perform better? You know, what things would you put in place if there were no limitations?
Well, I guess I'll start. For me, I guess as far as the marketing, the goal is more leads. And what I've found over the years, I remember, for example, when we hired our it was the first time we hired a professional salesperson or comfort advisor on the HVAC side. And when we interviewed him and talked to him at that time, I remember saying, he asked, are you going to be able to provide me enough leads, or am I going to be busy and so on. And back at that time, which would have been probably the early 2000s, I remember saying to him, which was true in the day, I said, Mike, you're going to be so busy, you're not going to be able to keep up. And that was the case with regards to furnace replacements. Air conditioning back then in our climate wasn't a huge thing, but and yeah, we were just absolutely swamped with leads. And then as the years progressed, of course we had some downtimes, some recessions and different things that happened in between then, but I found that those leads is coming in have slowed, and I think we've lost some ground to our competitors, just as far as the digital marketing, if you will. So we've been in the community, in the industry for a long time. We were established in 1965, and I think in the past, with the conventional marketing that we did a good job, and we support the community and all of those kind of things. So I think lots of people knew us, but really, even in the city of Red Deer, the population increased or exploded quite a bit in between year 2000 and let's say year 2015. And so in that time period, I just question how many new people have come into the area that maybe just we take it for granted that people know who we are. And I think there's maybe a lot of people that don't know who we are. And just on my own, when I'm online, I was even online the other day, and I forget the exact term. Anyway, it came up, I was searching for something, and it came up with Google experts or something like that. And one of my competitors was listed under as a expert or something like that. I don't know how he got his name on there. When I clicked into the more, we weren't even listed. So there's those types of things that I believe we're falling behind on, and I'm attributing that, I may be wrong, to us getting less leads.
Yeah, I'll take off from what Marty said. And, I guess if I was to wave a magic wand, I would want to know what works and what doesn't as far as generating those leads and where do you advertise. I kind of still think there's a bit of a place for the traditional marketing, whether it's vans or radio or, even print media for what that's worth. But, everybody comes to you and says, we have a solution and you sign up with us and we'll solve all your problems. But I don't know how much of that is true and how much of that is marketing. So I'd like to know, how do we go about it? What's the best, where do we spread the dollars and the efforts? And what's the best return? And how do we measure that return?
What time frame?
Yes.
Good question. Really good question. Carly?
Yeah, I think just to go off of what Richard said is just kind of finding, where we can get those answers, which I think we've kind of been working on recently, just trying to get some different content over there on all different platforms. But just, I think Bruins has a really great sense of community, and forever, that's kind of, the main thing that I think attracts people to Bruins, but just kind of maybe taking that next professional step and kind of turning to different directions to get, different engagement and more engagement, I guess, I think would be a really big step.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. That's really helpful, and really appreciate the background and the story.
Marty, service rates, did you review them?
Yes. Yes. So I reviewed the service rates, our billable, like our hourly rate that we bill out, and I increased all of those rates, and they're implemented.